Hello judges, my name is Parker Murphy and today I'll be presenting my senior project. So my senior project was developing an app based on helping citizens in law enforcement. The app, it's called eWitness and it stands for, the E in eWitness stands for electronic. So altogether it's called the electronic witness. My app was created based on helping citizens in law enforcement, as I said. So basically my project is created because most police take pride in doing their job correctly, but there will always be a portion that are violating citizens' rights. So my goal is to have my project, being my app, website, and research paper, serve as a movement for enlightening young adults on increasing their knowledge of their rights and being able to use and exercise them in real life situations while recording. So to give you an idea of how apps are made and what they're made on, I have a picture of the platform I used up on the board. I used the App Inventor 2 platform, which is one of the most beginning level platforms in the app industry. They use it in places like app design courses, high schools, middle schools for teaching students. I'll still let you know that it's not something everyone can pick up. It was a challenge for me to learn apps, as I did. And as you can see, I have the phone that I use too as well, which is just basically a random Droid, nothing expensive. And to give you some background info on the professionally made apps that are used in real life and that you use on your phone every day, basically those are made on platforms like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and iOS. So those are things that you need a higher education to make apps on. And I will say before I get into the rest of my presentation that the App Inventor 2 platform and my skill set limited me on terms of where I could bring the app, because the app that I had in my head before starting the before starting the project, was definitely bigger and better than what I was able to accomplish with my limitations. So for my senior project topic, it was American rights. And my personal connection to my project is many things because I believe in myself as an entrepreneur, and I definitely take pride in knowing my rights and being able to handle police altercations. So my personal connection was many things. I love apps and I want to be an entrepreneur. So being able to create something that I'm passionate about and I was able to accomplish was definitely a good feeling. But to accomplish my senior project and have my app serve as a rough draft for the real life app that I want to create in the future is also an amazing feeling as well. I chose this project because I knew that in junior year when I had the idea that if I chose it for my senior project, it would propel and advance the idea 10 times faster, and that's exactly what it did. When I took in this project, I definitely had a major learning stretch because I entered the world of app design, which I wasn't familiar with at all before this year, and I had to learn how to create apps. So getting the language and the technological aspects of it, it was kind of tough at first, but it's kind of like math where you don't know it and then you get it and then you're good at it. And also, as I was going through the year, finishing the app slowly, I learned so much about my rights and how certain police altercations function. And with all that knowledge, I'll be able to take that into life after high school and college and further my knowledge of the app industry. So getting into my research paper, my research paper's thesis statement was, in the world Americans live in today, an array of people don't know their rights, and due to that lack of knowledge, they're more likely to be taken advantage of by law enforcement. Unjust law enforcement, I'm sorry. The essential questions we get into are how many Americans know their rights, have schools impacted knowing rights, and has law enforcement changed its ways or tightened up towards citizens? Relevant topics that we get into branching off from those ideas: what rights are most important and most relevant to the average citizen? Do schools acknowledge the importance of teaching rights? And last but not least, does law enforcement abuse its power? So when doing my research paper, I learned a lot of things, and not to bombard you with statistics right off the bat, but they all kind of correlate with my project. 43% of police believe getting their job done is not compatible with following the rules. 48% of police turned a blind eye to improper conduct of other officers, while 61% of police do not always report serious abuse by fellow officers. And on top of that, 84% witnessed fellow officers using more force than necessary. Where I got my information, I'll get into my sources later. I will say, with all of that in mind, it's important to take note that with police, like any other authority figure, they can take advantage of citizens when power is in the wrong hands. And to give you some background info on that, a quote from Richard Gampa, a New York attorney in New York, upstate New York, who studies police brutality and abuse, states, while most police take pride in doing their job correctly, there will always be a portion that will violate citizens' rights in order to fulfill selfish goals. And abuse of power can range anywhere from excessive force, false arrest, illegal killings, and assault. So with all of that in mind, it's so important to stay safe, know your rights, and report police altercations when dealing with unjust law enforcement. So my research paper and project connection, pretty simple because my research paper gets into how some people don't know their rights and how that will affect them, and my paper and my app promotes knowing rights. So they kind of go hand in hand. Now, if you're wondering what the product is itself, I was kind of dumb enough not to get my phone out of my briefcase, so I have to do that right now. But I have one phone to pass out. While I'm passing that out, I would advise everyone to look up at the board while I go through my product details. So, and you swipe that, and then e-witness, that the emblem right there. You can click that and then go through. So, as you can see here, the first thing you're going to click when you press e-witness, it's going to bring you to this interface right here, as you can see. It's going to give you the option to record, go to your database page, your rights page, help page, and info page. When you're here, that means you're probably in an altercation. So the first thing you're going to want to do is record, and then anything that you have recording will save to your database page right here, easily accessible and viewable for you to use whenever necessary for anything you need. And then aside from those two functions, I have the rights page right here, which is, I have traffic stop, DUI checkpoint, on-foot police altercation, and 100 miles of a border checkpoint, and then your amendments down here below. I focus on these 4 altercations because they're the most common altercations that any average American citizen are going to encounter during everyday life. So basically what happens is you click on these pages, sorry about that. You click on these pages, and when you click on them, it brings you to another page that has all information about the altercation, how to handle them, and different things too, some just things that you know. This is the help page. Basically tells you how to successfully navigate the app and a little bit about what we're about. And then the info page right here, as you can see, gives you a brief description of e-witness in general, our goals, and then down here, you can't see it on the screen, but I have my sources that I used for creating the app and the information that I plugged into them. So here you can see these are the pages that will tell you, this one's about traffic stop, this one's about DUI checkpoint, they just give you information. So to give you an idea of the creation aspect of it and the blocks of it, as you can see here to the right of the screen, it's kind of hard to explain to somebody who doesn't know anything about apps or blocks, but to give you a brief idea, actually, I'm sorry about that, let me pass these out. Just pass those out. So look along as I explain. I'll wait for everybody to get one. So, as you can see on the paper, it has a picture of the first page right here to the right, the blocks, and then the designer screen. So, take a look at both kind of, I'll ask you. So, these 4 puzzle pieces right here resemble these 4 things down here. And it's not going to have the home page because this is the home page. Basically, the puzzle pieces come together and form an equation similar to an if-then statement, but instead of an if-then statement, it's a when-do statement, as you can see to the right of your blocks. So just to explain what I have here, when the database button is clicked, it opens the database page. As you can see, the puzzle piece just fits right in. So these 4 things, as I said, symbolize these 4 things. And then down here, you get into a little bit more complex. When the camera recorder is done recording, the clip will save to TinyDB1, which is a file storage system. And then down here, you can name and tag that in your database. Now, I think all of you had saw my website, but just to show you something that's happening in Rhode Island right now that relates to my project, I have a video for you guys.
In the wake of the deadly police shooting in Ferguson, Missouri, President Obama introduced a proposal to outfit more officers with body cameras.
It's an expensive project, but its aim is to build trust between law enforcement and the community. Now, a Rhode Island lawmaker who's a retired police officer has introduced a bill requiring police to wear those devices. Eyewitness News reporter Steve Nielsen is here now with the story that's new at 6.
Representative Joseph Almeida told me police work has always evolved, and wearing body cameras is just the next step in the evolution. Should cameras like this be on every police officer in Rhode Island? That's what State Representative Joseph Almeida wants. So you wouldn't have had a problem as a police officer wearing one of these cameras?
No, not at all. I put it out in a minute. What's there to worry about?
Almeida, a retired Providence police officer, says wearing body cameras like this holds officers accountable, but it also protects officers. The potential legislation is in response to protests across the country because of officer-involved deaths.
Both the community and the police departments have stopped talking. So what it does is these cameras will will actually make the conversation start and ask for peace on both ends and stop being suspicious of each other.
The bill would be similar to what lawmakers are asking for in many other states as well. I previously sat down with the president of Rhode Island Police Chiefs Association, Richmond Police Chief Elwood Johnson. He said there's problems that need to be addressed, mainly the sheer cost. Now, Almeida readily admitted that he still needs to research how to pay for not only the cameras, but also the data storage. It's a lot of money. He said he would contact departments in other states that have these cameras to see how they were able to afford it. I'm Steve Nielsen, Eyewitness News.
So as you can see, it's a trending topic, and it's just starting to trend in Rhode Island. They just outfitted 10 officers with body cameras. So their argument for the cameras is similar to my argument with citizens having the cameras. So I figured that connected directly. Let me take you back to. So roadblocks I had during my project, I had no personal roadblocks because this was something that I was very passionate about, and even the most tedious work, like the research paper, I did with a smile on my face. So basically the video recording aspect was one of my technological roadblocks, and basically what happened was I could only get sound on there, so you could only hear voice when you were recording, and I couldn't get the actual video recording to get on the phone, but with the help of my mentor, we resolved that issue. One of the other issues was getting the videos to save to the database. So that's going from this recording and having that recording saved to a different page, which was kind of hard, and I didn't know how to do it, but Mr. Hathaway definitely coached me through it. And if you saw my website, whenever you did view it, you know that my mentor is Mr. Hathaway, and I just want to thank him for being a positive, encouraging influence the whole way through. He was a perfect mentor for me because I had known him previous to doing this project, and he's just like always giving me ideas for everything, and he's just a great guy. And my achievements in Civic Connection, my most notable achievement throughout this whole project, throughout the whole year, I would say is creating a successfully functioning app for your iPhone. I've always been interested in apps, and to do it myself was something that was definitely interesting. My Civic Connection was creating an app that promotes knowledge of rights and citizens' rights, so I think that's very important. And the helpful courses that I used was civics to better my presentation skills and app design to create the app in its entirety. And that concludes my presentation. I'll now take any questions.
I have a question. Did you have the opportunity to ride with Wesley PD or anything to see?
I did not.
Did you contact them or?
No, I did not contact them. I'm sorry. You?
Okay.
Sorry.
So the information, I'm just curious to know where you got the information from the rights portion of, on the phone, because it's, a lot of the language is directly from the Constitution, but it seems like it's put into lay language, so I'm just wondering where that came from.
Various sources on the internet. I don't remember any of them specifically because I had the app done for a while now, so I couldn't tell you that, but most of the sources that I got were .orgs and credible sources. If that makes you feel better.
Just, I'm not very good with technology, obviously, because my alarm went off here, but what's the difference between holding, like using the, the video thing on your regular phone as opposed to the app?
I get that question a lot, actually, and as I said in the beginning, the app that I had in my mind before starting the project had a lot more functions involved with it and a lot more things in it that I could give you, like, for that. But as of right now, where I stand, the only difference between the app and a regular filming device would just be that if you get our app, you're more inclined to know your rights because my app promotes the education of rights, and basically we have the rights on the phone itself too.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
So do you have your sources on that phone?
Yeah, the sources.
Everything's on there?
I can go back to them just to show
That's
you.
right. And then my other question is, did you have a problem with the police that made you? jump into
No, I
this?
get that question a lot too.
Just
People, a
curious.
lot of people think that I'm biased towards police, and that's why I stress a lot to show that video that I showed you towards the end, because the police are putting body cameras on themselves too, for the same reasons that I believe citizens should have their own cameras. So my argument kind of mirrors that, and no, to answer your question, I didn't have any bad altercation with the police, but I've heard of some that definitely disturbed me, that drove me to make the app.
Thank you.
Do you, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
Can you just review what your learning stretch was again?
My learning stretch was entering the world of app design and learning how to create apps. And on top of that, definitely a learning stretch on my knowledge of my rights and how certain police altercations work, especially the 4 that I listed. question.
Well, you mentioned about this, the citizen rights, but do you also feel sometimes the police are harshly bashed because of
Definitely, the police.
protecting themselves or other
Mhm.
people around them?
I definitely would agree with that statement. The police definitely have an open eye on them now because of the trending topic, as I said. So, but as you saw in the video that I showed you relating to it, having recording, or when cops don't know you, so when they come up to you, they don't know what could happen. So if you're recording an altercation, and I'll say respectfully recording the altercation, then the cop knows that you're exercising your rights and you know your rights. So that, in my opinion, would maybe make the situation a little less heightened. But on terms of that, I think that some recordings will actually benefit the cops.
I like the way you ended.
Thank you.
It's cute.